So the new empire, let's say it takes 5 years. So let's call it 2960. The Accords of Peace are ratified. 2961, the houses major and minor are established, and the new emperor is crowned in. So this would be, if we want to stick to the timeline, it would have to actually be 2901, right? So I have to adjust some of these backwards. No, yeah. So this would be 3001. The new emperor is crowned. So do we go 40 years without an emperor? That doesn't make sense. Yeah, you know what? Actually, the only thing we need to do is just decide. Like, I think this is just when we declare. How about this? Let's just bypass the system and we'll go 3199. The High Church declares 3201 a year of ascension. There you go. They just get to make up these kinds of like cultural laws. There we go. Now I don't have to worry about any of that horse shit. So a new emperor is crowned in 2962. So this is the new emperor, 2962. So I can cut out the period of debate here because the blood emperor ruled. So the first emperor, and then the Cygnus. Oh, maybe that's just the Cygnus emperor. Maybe that's it. Maybe this is yeah. Because that's actually not that long. Okay, there we go. I think that makes sense. Yeah. Oh, House Aquila would have considered themselves like a major house. They were huge back when the Blood Eagle took over. Yeah, and he needed. Yeah, I guess that'd be 400 years. You know what? I'm gonna make it. We'll make it a second one. So 29, 3062. That's right. Yeah, because he's not. It'll be this like the second. Yeah. Okay. Because I want them to live a long time. But I think there is another one here. And then 3162. That's right. 9. This is Emperor 10. Does that look about right? Is that the correct timing? Yeah, right. The first Emperor, 29, 30, 31. And then, so this is the one that reigned for 40 years and then died. Okay, so this is the Cygnus Emperor. And then this was basically the second one. Okay, cool. So we'll have to figure out who those are. 26, 15. Why do we need another emperor after? Why? No, because the scream happened and just fucked the empire. So there was no person in this. No. Yeah. And did I put in? Yeah, 9. There we go. Not the IIX. Okay, yes, we're electing the 10th emperor, the 10th official emperor. There's some questions in here for this 100-year period, but that's fine. So 2901, 2962, and then 30. So this is a period of relative peace. Okay, the Holy 10th. Okay, great, cool. So let's figure this. Let's figure this out. Oh no, it's not. Yeah, like it's not that 140 years passed before anybody was like, let's have an emperor again. It was like all the other planets are gone, just fucking gone, and all you have is your own system. We needed to like reinvent the spike drive and like do all that shit. So okay, so this means we gotta punch these in. So during this period, during the new empire, we have 3062 in here. And then we have this one. Crux acts fast. Okay, cool. and we'll call this the last Emperor before the war, right? Emperor 9. Okay, great. Let's fill in some more question marks. So 2962, we get our new emperor, and everything is great. Everything's fine. The Church of Humanity is formed because they're like, yo, this is bullshit, y'all. And I think that happened 2969. I think that the formal agreement for noble grievance happened actually like earlier. So let's call that 2964. So it's been illegal since 2964 for any of the houses to wage war on each other. You cannot like destroy each other's property. All property is property of the empire. Your lives are property of the empire. You cannot not okay. No fight. Okay. So then we invent Cyball, and that's fun. And then the first synthetic human is unveiled. And this happens in 3000, in the year 3006, let's say. Trilliant Ring becomes a corporation in 3016. No, let's call it 3014. And I think probably there's a section in here where it's like we basically incorporate synths into all aspects of humanity, right? So there's like a deeper timeline here where we actually get like synthetic humans permeate the sort of universe. And we get them all over the place, and they start doing work for us. And it's starting to bring us like peace. And then like Crux. Here, I'm gonna just kill all these because we know it's AD is a stupid thing to be using in a sci-fi game anyway, because it's CE anyway. Okay, so we do all that, and then shit just goes real bad. So I think that in 3177, House Crux reveals the Cygnus plan to seize power. And then the war against the artificials begins, like right away. Okay. And then House Vela and House Pixis, I think they split. This is like kind of unrelated to all of the other like stuff, but I think this happened in 3120. So they've been separated for what, 80 years? Yeah, I think that's about right. Like a generation for an average like human. So they're just starting their real like exploration. They're like, Mom, Dad, I'm out. Yeah, the Cygnus plot. That's much better. They're like, Mom, Dad, Mom, Vela, Dad, we're out. Gotta go. Okay. All right. Formation of Prism. I think we got like almost all this stuff. Okay, so the UPC forms in 3181. We declare that synthetics are not humans in... Yeah, I need to move Pixis. Yeah, because they're fine, right? 3120. There's no other 31 dates. Did I miss something? Okay. Okay, so that's fine. And then this person is elected in 3162. The declaration that synthetics are not human passes, and this happens in 31 like 85 84 maybe, and this is when it really kicks off, right? Like 3185, all the houses great, major and minor, all join the war, right? This was the like, oh, if the church says that we're allowed to go and like fuck shit up, then we're doing it. We are absolutely 100%. We are going to do it. Let us join, and we will cross. And maybe that's why like House Vagrant is like, oh, everybody's paying attention to this war now. Let's leave. Let's split off. The Honglu revolt ends with the death of the Cygnus Emperor, and they take advantage of that. They seize their planet. The Serpent's assassin turns themselves over to the church, and then the High Church declares 3201 a year of ascension. Okay. Cool. We got it. I mean, during this period, present day, during the Common Era, right, there's like talks of like purges, exterminations. This is not a great time. It's a period of descent. Are we going to get a new Blood Emperor, like a new Blood Eagle? That seems like bad and scary. Are we going to end up with like a Crux on the throne? Did their war against Cygnus work? Do they get what they deserve? Right? Are they rewarded for that? Are we so divided that we are going to end up letting the church run us for 100 years? So, yeah, what are we going to end up with here? How is this going to go? I think I got to throw in, before House Vagrant is formed, let's go 3180. The bombing of Gats begins. And then maybe the UPC forms partly in response to that. Like this is like a Guernica thing where they're like, oh, what the fuck? These nobles are just blowing up everything on this planet. So that means that 3182 House Cygnus relocates to Imperial Prime. Right? To be like, oh, we need to like come over here and like we need somewhere to live. So they like run to Imperial Prime, which they've seized to defend themselves. And then the church several years later is like, okay, you know what? They're bad. Let's just we'll get them. Okay, cool. House Vagrant is formed. Good. Okay, I don't think I'm missing any. I mean, good shit happened. Like an age of glory and exploration when everything was great and nobody was ever sad about anything except House Lyra because they like being sad. Okay, there we go. It's important. You gotta, recognize their skills. Okay. Good. Okay, so that's the Golden Age, and everything is great. If we need stuff to occur during that time, we can do it. But there we go. We got three pages. We have a good timeline now. So the rule of the Emperor. So this is like a thing. This is our dramatis personae for the Emperor. This is how we know who ruled when. And I'm not gonna like tie them. I'm not gonna tie them down yet with like necessarily names and stuff, except ones we already know. So we know for sure that this is the Aquilon Emperor, known as the Blood Eagle. And then we know that this is the Cygnus Emperor, betrayer of humanity. And then I don't know the rest of these. We'll figure these out. 2665 to 2901. I mean, this all. I think this can. We can just go 2615. This covers the whole thing, and we can call it no clear ruler during this time. Right? There's a period of uncertainty. Okay. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 emperor that we get to like name and come up with stuff. So yeah, and this is 2665 from the Scream till 2901. It's a mess. Yikes. Okay. All right. And then here it is. This is what happened. All right. So I'll post this. I'll post this in the I'll post this in the thing in the Discord. So let's spend the rest of our time together. Answering questions, because you have many, many lore questions, and I will spend the next 45 minutes answering them, and then we'll come back later, and I will spend another 2 hours answering them this evening. So, all right. The current list of questions looks like 264 questions. Now, I'm not going to answer all of them. Some of them obviously are going to be duplicates. So let's just get through it. Let's see what we got. I'm excited about this because I want to stop and like ponder and like discuss some of these, because there's lots of things to discuss. One thing that I think people are forgetting is during the Scream, no one was able to connect with anyone else, right? So there was no empire. There was no Regency Council. The only people that would have been in contact would have been houses or factions that share a system. So if you have a neighbor in system, then you are able to survive the Scream together. Yeah, Cygnus and Crux. Right? So keep that in mind, actually, that you have hundreds and hundreds of years of additional bonus being friends time or being enemies time with your neighbors that are in the same sector. So definitely look at your sector, see if you're friends with, and remember that that was a thing. But make sure you existed back then. Okay, so anyway, questions. So our first question is from First Crux Friedrich Hieronymus, from House Crux, obviously. And it is a question about romance. So this is a question. The question is the Prince Crux married or betrothed? No, not yet. He is the sector's most eligible bachelor. He's the person who, if House Crux takes the throne, all the other houses that don't get to be on the throne are going to be looking to marry in to his family, because even if you give up your name and you join House Crux, you are still related to House Serpens or House Vela or whatever, House Fornax, and so you will boost your like cousin, right? Plus, the prince will be allowed to have imperial consorts, so that's a thing. So keep that in mind. Yeah. So if you don't get to be the emperor, definitely flirt with the prince, because if he does run the jam, this is a thing. Imperial consorts are hella a thing. Yeah, he's gonna have concubines and all that. Okay, so Mega Supreme Taco, also of House Crux, asks, can you give us some details about the prince? How old, young is he? What does he look like? What's his demeanor? I think no one really knows too much about him except that he's perfect in every conceivable way. He has been trained and engineered and bio-modified to be young and attractive and beautiful. He is charming. He is everything that you want an emperor to be, right? He has been engaged to be like, he's perfect. But that's like the line. He's still a crux, so he's probably got a bit of a stick up his ass, and he's probably like lawful neutral. But that's okay. It's cool for him to have a little bit of an edge. We don't know him too well, right? He's like JFK, right? But like a little more lawful. He's a good guy. Most people like him, I think. Ethelind of Eridanus asks, how long has it been since the Vela Pixa split? We know that now. Lucas of the Church of Humanity Repentant asks, this is a good question. Is membership in the Church of Humanity illegal? And is there a meaningful distinction between heresy and crime in the sector? We're beyond heresy, right? Like, and this is partly me wanting to move away from the whole like Anabaptist, Warhammer 40,000, punish the non-believers. The Church of Humanity isn't a real church as far as the high church goes. Like, they call themselves a church, and like, yeah, we have some of the same principles, but it's sort of more like, oh, you're a Protestant in the eyes of like the Catholic Church. There's no like, burn them and destroy them. They're allowed to be legitimate. Lots of systems have the Church of Humanity and the High Church. Like, those things coexist in some places. It depends on the culture, right? it's okay to be part of the Church of Humanity, but like if people find out, it's going to be harder to get a job. It's embarrassing for your family. Like, what are you doing? Like, why would you? That's okay. You have weird ideas, I guess. So they're seen as kind of like embarrassing. We don't have, I think the Church of Humanity understands that we don't have room right now and haven't really for like a civil war. And also the Church of Humanity Repentant for now isn't really like a threat. However, I'm going to leave it up to the church, the high church, if they ever want to declare it like illegal and get a little more aggressive because of stuff that happens in the faction turn. We could go that way. We could get a little Old Testament on them, but not right now. I'm thinking more like their relationship is between, it's a little bit more like by system, and it's a little bit more like they're embarrassed by them. The high church is like, I'm sorry that they exist. They shouldn't. Artifacts Eridanus Argenta of House Eridanus asks, have the synths ever shown signs of rebellion? Yeah, but we wouldn't call it a rebellion. We would call it a malfunction, right? Like they were beta testing them. So, you know, like, yeah, there have been small synthetic rebellions before, but like they were never, the reason that the war against the artificials happened is because it wasn't the artificials that did it. It was House Cygnus who planned to use the artificials to destroy all of humanity, right? A noble did this thing, right? Our equals. Synthetic rebellion was just like your gun misfired or like you dropped your wrench on your foot. It has happened in the past, but Cygnus covered it up or was like, no, it's fine. Like we fixed it. We're sorry. We're beta testing. We want them to be independent, but not so independent that like, you know, they get to say no when we tell them to do the things that we want them to do. All right. So, Durka Lacrime of House Vagrant, asks, at any point were synths trained to navigate starships? I'm going to say yes. Because they're like mentats, right? You can make an incredibly smart synth, smarter than any human could be. Certainly better at math than me and every other human. But no, I think that they were trained. There were some of them that were trained to be like navigators, in the sense that they were able to like read the maps. But I feel like this is probably a point of contention in House Vela. I think that House Vela probably was not in agreement about this. I think that they were probably like, we shouldn't do this. And then some of them were like, yeah, but what if we did? And like, maybe that's not a universal, like, yes, it's totally okay. Right? Vela probably is glad they were gone. I would say that it was a small faction of House Vela that was willing to do that. Again, we were all bamboozled. We were all bamboozled by House Cygnus. It's an embarrassment we all bear, and I'm glad that it's over now, right? Thank goodness. That was a mistake. We all made mistakes. All right. High Priest Calixtus Pius of the High Church of Messiah as Emperor asks, you mentioned specifically House Fornax has never raised an emperor. In what year did the first emperor establish the empire? Has there ever been an emperor from every current house apart from Fornax? We will answer this as we go. You know the answer to some of that. Asmodai of House Vagrant asked about how long Vagrant has been an organized group. We know that now too. Here's a good one. So another question from Durka Lacrime. How does synth biology differ significantly from ordinary biology? Barely, right? Barely. I'm thinking somewhere between a Blade Runner synth and a Westworld host. In that I bet you, like, you have to kill them. They cannot be, like, you could vivisect one, I guess, but, like, somewhere in their brain, there are, like, serial numbers, or there's, like, a code, or something like that, like, indicates that they are a synth, but otherwise, they are just perfect humans, like, biologically perfect humans. Their bones are made out of the same stuff our bones are made out of, but they're made perfect. They are genetically engineered never to get sick. They can hold their breath for infinitely longer than we can. They don't need to eat. I think some of them are able to do skin to battery conduction to like power themselves. They're like a little bit pre-tech magic. And you cannot know if someone is a synth except by analyzing their psychometric properties and asking them a bunch of questions. There is a psychic Voight-Kampff test, but it's very hard and it's not perfect. So that's a thing. Cool. Okay. Yeah, I mean, there is this like Pol Pot situation where like attractive, athletic people were murdered because it was assumed that they were a synth. Do all synths know that they're synths? No. No, they do not. No. But they might. They might be able to find out. Most of them have programming that allows someone who knows the right code words to Manchurian candidate them, right? To give them the code word to chill them out or like control them, right? But some synths are able to bypass that. There's been some problems with that protocol, etc. All right. Hohenzollern Matthew of House Crux asks, what are the laws of the universe? And is Crux able to change the laws? Well, Matthew, the laws of the universe were invented by physics, and no, you can't change them. Also, I'm not going to write out an entire legal code for the universe, but I will answer legal questions as they come up. Generally, the rules of the universe are all humans are equal, except that they're not. Nobles are better than everyone else. Whether or not someone is a serf or not is like a legal thing. There are serfs. There are also free men. Free men are generally only respected if they have money and power, right? So the council of directors that run Acre, the free men and women of Trilliant, et cetera, et cetera. There are some like important free men, but legally they're not as important as nobles. Nobles are the best because they're nobles. Everybody else is trash. You can pretty much get away with like destroying someone's property or whatever. Murder is always bad. Murder is not okay. Generally, a noble can weasel out of it if they kill someone below them. Murder between nobles is hugely off the table unless it's a duel. What else? 4 legs good, 2 legs bad. No, it's the other way around. But basically, like, nobles get away with a lot of shit that other people can't get away with because they're nobles. And that's just sort of how it goes. You cannot become a noble unless somehow you marry into a house, but that's sort of looked down on. Marriage across nobility is great and good. It binds houses together. And yeah, the whole point of being a noble is that you are better than everyone else. Slavery of humans is illegal. Serfdom, functional slavery, not illegal. Yeah, so we don't do slavery, but you can like sneak around it. Okay. Let's see. Cynical Ascension, who has not made an in-character name yet, of House Serpents, asks, are there any past examples of House Serpents' visions that have had large impacts on the fate of the Empire? Most of that stuff happens in secret. Most of that happens in secret. Yeah, I mean, individual houses might have their own protocols for like raising people up. But House Serpents, they don't go telling everybody this stuff. That is their truck and trade, right? Like if House Serpents learns a secret, they will often act on it or they will tell only the people they think. They don't come out and make public proclamations about what they learn. The precognitive council will be like, this thing will happen, and then they decide what to do about it. So yes, House Serpents has gently nudged history a few times, but we don't know always why or how. Okay. All right. Let's see. Let's talk about, here we go. So Jacob Truelove of House Pixis, hi Jacob, asks, were the 3, formerly 4 major houses always at the top, or they just happen to gain the most power among the houses? No, I'm thinking, so if you're familiar, and this is going to be like this is a relatively like deep RPG, deep cut. If you're familiar with Vampire Dark Ages, There are like the high clans and the low clans, but that's just what the high clans decided they would do to differentiate these things. They're differentiated by actual like power in the universe, like number of ships, importance of their place, how many people belong to the house, right? Like voting power, that kind of shit. But I don't think that it's like a clear. It's not as clear all the time. It's not universal. So House Fornax and House Vela, they have been important for a long time. They serve a great purpose. House Aquila used to be more important. Now they're not so much. House Crux is important recently. House Cygnus was. Obviously, House Cygnus is gone. A small house could rise, and a large house could fall, etc. You retain your nobility so long as the church and all the councils agree. It's very hard to get rid of a house completely, but houses splinter in the case of Pixis. Houses merge, right? Two or three minor houses could decide to form one house major. Or we could, like I said before, we could rediscover a new house, and they might automatically qualify for being a house major. Yeah. There are three titles. If you are a woman, you are an empress. If you are a man, you are an emperor. And if you are non-binary, you are an emperor. Those are the three terms we use depending on your personal pronouns. Okay, Captain Cads of House Reticulum asks, are duels always about person-to-person conflict with a bloody result? How about weapon mastery competition and shooting sports like archery? No, they need to be to blood. The law of the duel is that there must be blood. Blood must be spilt. Whether it is by pistol or by saber, the two traditional dueling weapons, or I don't know, I guess if you want to duel with rocket launchers, you could. There have been examples of mech duels. There have been examples of space battles between entire fleets, right? Blood fleets. The dueling fleets are a thing. Dog fights. All of those. Yeah, I guess if you really want to, fisticuffs could be a thing, but like punching someone with your fists is kind of like looked down upon. Yeah. Okay, cool. Irma Fox of House Trilliant. They're a corporation. The Trilliant Ring. Would Trilliant be created in the ancient times? No, we saw where they were created. They're a newer company rising up out of the need for luxury items that not that Acre can't provide, but that Acre is not interested in. Acre deals in the big picture. Trilliant makes small scale, beautiful objects. Okay. Hohengrad Lux of House Triangulum asks, can we talk about terraformers and world building? Literal world building. To what extent can we terraform or build worlds? Terraforming is pre-tech, so it's like it's lost for now. But if anybody learns that ability, if anybody relearns how to do that, House Triangulum would be the one. So House Triangulum, you would be the ones that would develop it. It is a lost art, but we know it's possible, because many of the worlds are either the result of terraforming, or we can see their terraforming like falling apart or not working properly. Yeah. But yes, it's certainly possible, but it's currently lost to us. The Orator of the North, Echo Pixis Herr William of House Pixis, asks, how illegal are our illicit maps? And if Crux manages to find and raid a meeting and find these maps, how bad would the fallout be? The only person that cares about your illicit suicide maps is probably House Vela, because y'all are insane and no one would ever use any of your maps for trade, which is all that matters, right? You guys are crazy, and 9 times out of 10, these illicit maps are just signing your own death warrant. So, like, House Vela would be pissed because you're impinging on their deal, and they would be the ones that would recognize the actual value in your maps. House Crux probably doesn't care. Crux has some other shit going on, but Vela could convince Crux to go after you because it is technically illegal, but it's illegal in the way that not wearing your seatbelt is illegal, or like speeding is illegal. You are doing something dangerous. You are risking your own lives. It's bad for you, and it's bad for the rest of the Empire. Behave yourselves, you crazy kids. All right. Exarch purist Bakhtan Alexander of the High Church asks, how important is religion in the everyday life of an average citizen? Do most people go to church and listen to sermons? Yes. I mean, individual people, individual people vary, right? But like all of the imperial holidays are determined by the church, right? We have church Christmas, we have the birth of the emperor, we have like, and these are all the High Church. Its influence is cultural. Even if someone may not like believe in God in the way that they would like go to church and be like, dear God, please save me from this cancer that I have and I'm not going to the doctor for. But they believe in the cultural power of the church. The church is built into civilization. Whether people like legit believe, capital F faith, I mean, that's up to the individual. Another question from Orator of the North, Echo Pixis Hair William. When Pixis split from Vela, they wouldn't have been considered a house, right? In which case, when and who officially recognized this? I don't know. I've been thinking about that. Like, it takes a lot to be recognized as a minor house. You would have had to have had friends in the council, which means you would have had to have done favors for people. I think that House Pixis like was like, screw you, we're not a house, but it didn't have to be bad, right? Like this could very much be Vela trying to get rid of you, being like, oh, fine, just go, like stop being difficult to deal with. Here, take these ships and get the fuck out of here. Vela could have sponsored you in the way that a parent, like, you know, you go off to university because they expected you to fail. I don't know. You talk that out. You can kind of decide that. I'm not picky about it. I haven't really thought about it, but I think that it's probably not aggressive and angry and like bad. I think it's probably just kind of like, cool. You want to do your own thing. You're silly, but go ahead and do it. Ivan Azarov, VP of Contracts at the Deathless, asks, do you have a timeline for sector history? Well, I do now, Ivan. I do now. A lot of these are like historical questions we answered, so that's good. Inquisitor Matthias the Resolute of the High Church of the Messiah as Emperor asks, have there been any other houses which have been removed or merged with other houses? Yeah, definitely. 100%. I think that the houses are it's a fluid structure, right? They're families. Some of them have been around forever. Some of them have been new. Yeah, like you can kind of like think about this stuff on your own, but we've had a lot of like very confused history. So yeah, there could very easily have been these other ships, and I think again we talked about this. Pixis could be going looking for these lost houses, but also like splits, buildings, these kinds of things definitely could happen within the game. Comrade Habakoa of the UPC asks, do UPC insurgents and revolutionaries or whatever exist on the planets of the noble houses or pretty much only on outside planets? Revolution lies in the heart of every man. I mean, I think they're everywhere, right? Like the UPC is a very loose association of anti-noble political organizations. And some of them are workers' rebellions, right? Some of them are like born in the mines or the fields, right? Some of them are hammers and sickles. Others are rebellions of the intelligentsia, right? There are political scientists in House Triangulum who are secretly fomenting revolution, right? The UPC as spirit of rebellion, they're everywhere. They're everywhere. The 26 subfactions of the UPC, exactly. Usha Valerius of House Vagrant asks, were there any colony ships that made it to Acheron Rho but failed hard enough they never became noble houses? Yeah, definitely. Gives us lots of room to play in there. Collector Echo Pixis Khan Bayer. So Bayer asks, what drove the split between Vela and Pixis? how far developed were Pixis to make their own way in the unknown, etc. So, we've talked a little bit about this split. I think it's important to both houses. I think if you want to imagine it, the most important thing to remember is that Pixis left Vela because Vela used to be explorers, right? Hundreds of years ago, Vela went out and they traveled the sector and they reunited us. They brought us together again. They fixed the scream, right? But now they are like the shipping. They're like the guild, the Navigators Guild, right? They have this chokehold on the sector. They will not allow for new. Like if you want to navigate, you buy your maps from them. You train your navigators with them. They own travel. They saved humanity, and now that's it. They hold on to make another really like labored Vampire the Masquerade analogy. Vela is Clan Bruja, and Pixis is the true Bruja. Right? Like much smaller. I think Pixis might be the smallest of all the noble houses. That's my thought. But yeah, it's a fundamental differentiation of philosophical opinion. It's just a thing. They were like, you know what? We want to explore. What happens if someone doesn't use Valen maps and does rogue navigator training? They die. They either die horribly in a terrible fire. They jump into a sun. They fall in a black hole, or they get lost in an empty sector with no fuel. They die. We'll talk a little more maybe about like, you know what? Let me MS Paint you a picture. Let's talk about navigation and how this shit works, okay? So let me just bust back over to my gameplay here. All right, let me MS Paint you a picture. So like, okay, this is how navigation works in Stars Without Number. So here's a sector. It's America Prime, and we got the Seattle system, and we got the Portland system, we got the San Francisco system, we got the LA system, we got like, I don't know, the New York system and the Chicago system, and we got the like Dallas system and the Tampa system. Okay, so this is where they are literally in physical space in America Prime. All right, I don't care if that's where Chicago is. I really don't care. So this is where they are in literal space. The map that we are looking at, however, is not a map of literal physical space. It's a map of connections between places. So while the Seattle system and the Portland system might be quite close, the Seattle system may have no drive connection to the Portland system. So we might see like this. Right? And so in this way, we define distance by how close they are to each other. So House Vela has a map where this is like the physical space, but House Vela has one map. Let me here, we'll just draw some like random lines. So this could be like the House Vela map. And what House Pixis suggests is that maybe there's a route. Maybe there's a drive route like this, right? Maybe this is some shit we could do, right? Maybe this is how this works. So they're suggesting that it's possible that they're connected in alternate ways. Most of the time, though, it's like this: dead, 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 dead. It's bad. You just can't. You die out in space. The other thing that might happen is House Pixis might be like, cool, we're just going to like head out from the Dallas system and we're just going to rip it out into space and see what we find. What the fuck is this planet? There's a route between, wow, it's the Omaha system. We can get there. It's real. So that's what they're hoping for, right? They're hoping to find systems that were lost, because that's what Vela used to do. Vela used to, like, they sacrificed and they struggled and they strove and they built the map of Acheron Rho, and now it's safe. Like, God thank House Vela for making the Empire possible. But House Pixis wants more, right? House Pixis thinks that it's possible for us to find our lost children, find faster, better ways to connect to each other. And this is what's so cool about the Empire being this sort of like loosely assigned thing. So there you go. So Wolfgang Braunwein of the UPC asks, what was the crusade against the Xenos like? We don't use the word Xenos. Really anything that sounds like it comes from Warhammer, just put it away. Just put it away. I'm not interested. Just they're aliens. We call them aliens. Aliens, non-humans, inhumans, whatever you want to call them, but just take your 40K, put it in a box, and push it down the stairs, because it has no place in our game. So what was the crusade against the aliens like? It wasn't really a crusade. We know how long, how big, but we don't know what the hell even were the aliens. I haven't really decided that yet. I kind of want to introduce the aliens through the game, because if I lay them out, I don't want to like, it's not surprising. It's not fun anymore. Let me surprise you with the aliens. Let me make of them a surprise for you, okay? Secretly Paul of House Serpents, who I think of as like the serpent's progenitor, asks, at a point, there was mention that during times of the Empire, there was an Aquilan ruler, yep, the Blood Eagle, and there was no ruler ever elected from Fornax. Not asking for a specific timeline of succession, which we kind of have, but did Serpents have some kind of precog ruler at any point in history? No. I don't think that there was a Serpents emperor. House Serpents has always served the emperor's like will, right? The Serpents have always been the second in command. Sometimes they're Wormtongue, sometimes they're not like leadership material. Because I don't think because they're like immoral or whatever, but they serve. They care about more important things than power. Yeah. But maybe now is the time. Maybe now is the time. Okay, so we talked a little bit already about the Vela. Claymore of House Aquila wants to know, who was the Blood Eagle? Pronouns, philosophy, how do they fuck up shit? The Blood Eagle is a human in a long line of conquering bastards. The Blood Eagle is a man who had a vision for what the Empire could truly be. The Blood Eagle had a plan to unite humanity under the great red banner of battle and war. The Blood Eagle is an Alexander the Great. The Blood Eagle is a Julius Caesar. The Blood Eagle is a Joseph Stalin. The Blood Eagle is a Hitler. The Blood Eagle is, depending on how you, Napoleon, depending on how you look at it, this person could be any number of things. I'm not attached to the Blood Eagle's gender, so if House Aquila wants her to be the Blood Eagle to be an empress, I'm all over that shit. Have your representative at me in the Discord. We'll talk about it. Yeah, a Khan, depending on what side you're on, right? What we think of the Blood Eagle now is different than what we thought of the Blood Eagle 100 years ago, and also different than what we will think of the Blood Eagle in another 100 years, right? There may be a second coming of the Blood Eagle. The eagle's children, the eggs may hatch, right? And the Blood Eagle's children may rise and seize for a second bloody crusade, right? Like it's representative of a person who used martial power to take control, and it was bad. It was bad stuff. So Samson Gregor of the Prism Network asks, has there ever been a coup? We saw some of that earlier. Has the emperor ever been assassinated? No. Well, until now. The empress, they have a very special position because they are semi-divine. So even if they're the worst shit in the universe, killing them is a crime against the soul of humanity, right? It's like killing Jesus Christ. It's not okay. But sometimes it has to be done. So we don't know what to do with House Serpens right now, because technically they committed the greatest possible act of imperial treason available or allowed. They should, by law, have their house disbanded and be like cast out of the empire. Their planet should be seized and redistributed by Eridanus. But it had to be done, right? So this is a political situation. Crux is being asked to look the other way. And so far they've been able to stall. But someday someone will have to make a declaration. Either the church will have to say, this is no longer illegal, in which case House Crux will have to say to the church, fuck you, you can't change the law. And House Crux and the church might have a split, in which case Crux might get excommunicated, and that might be a whole thing. Or the church might turn out House Serpens, which would show that the church has no heart for what must be done, right? That the law is more important than the spirit. And that could signal a whole other terrible time. There might also be reasons why Crux hasn't already demanded the execution. Maybe Serpens knows something they shouldn't about the whole thing. So House Serpens, in more than one way, your time is ticking down. So I guess we'll see, right? We'll see if that great boot comes down on House Serpens or not. They're slippery. Though actual snakes aren't really slippery. They're quite dry. So Ty Martinez asks, did the Prism Network exist before the Scream, or did we form post-Scream? Mostly you've done a really good job making people forget that you were formed by the Blood Eagle as his or her personal intelligence committee. Like, it's not really like good PR to be like, hi, we're the Prism Network. We were originally formed by Space Hitler to keep an eye on you. Prism. Watch the sitcoms. Right? Like, it's dangerous business. You're like Fanta or Volkswagen. You just don't worry about it, everybody. It doesn't matter. They're gone. Please watch more TV. If you stare into the prism, forget that the prism stares also unto you. That's right. Yeah, the Prism Industrial Complex. All right, so Yeju of the 14 Red Dogs Triad asks, regarding synthetics, are they similar to the kind of things you'd see in the Fallout setting? Are they part biological? If I stabbed a synth in the hand, would it bleed? Yeah. I mean, I think there are people who are like, they like married a synth without ever knowing it. They never had any synth babies because you can't. That's one thing the synths were never allowed to do. Maybe the synth never knew they were a synth. They just thought they were impotent. And then they died, and you buried them like a human, and you went to church, and there was a funeral, and then you're done. But if you stab a synth, if you prick them, do they not bleed? All right. Have there been civil wars in the past? Yes. Several, Brandon G. Several. Claire, aka High Oracle Serpens Lunavera, of obviously House Serpens, would like to know more about the previous Emperor and the time right before everyone turned on Cygnus. What was the Emperor's pronouns? Did they have heirs? How did they rule? What are the general opinion of nobility and non-nobility toward the throne before Crux and Serpens took action? Everybody loved the Cygnus Emperor. Everybody loved House Cygnus. They were great. They were like made of gold, and we're going to bring us into a new golden age with this beautiful species of robot slaves they made. Robot slaves that look like humans, so we could have sex with them and not feel bad. And we could look at them and they could be pretty, and we could make them serve us. And some of us owned 10 or 15 or 20 or 1,000 or 2,000. We had entire factories and armies of perfect humans serving the nobility. Even the peasant slaves were being upraised because you didn't have to break your back in the fields. You could save up and you could buy a crappy synth. And then we found out that the Emperor was a filthy fucking traitor to humanity and was going to use these synths that we so beloved to turn on us and seize all that we loved and kill us, to throw us into a fire. And then we had to kill them. And now we all feel really bad and really guilty and honestly just like a little bit stupid about it. And everyone blames everybody else for not seeing this sooner. We blame Triangulum for making them. We blame Serpents for not knowing this was going to happen. We blame Crux for making them legal in the first place. We never blame ourselves, but we blame everybody else for letting this shit happen. They've sullied the throne. So we need to fix this shit. We need to get, it needs to get better because we've made some mistakes. Triari Aquila Vesclis Cassian of House Aquila, no shit, asks, is there a distinction between Imperial legions and the equivalent of an Imperial Navy? Are they simply combined? So the Imperial, as I think of it, the Imperial legions are run by House Aquila. They're the greatest warriors in the greatest samurai in the empire. They're the greatest warriors, and they serve the emperor, the empress at their whim against their enemies. The legions can include spaceships, right? They include navies built by House Fornax. They get great gear from House Reticulum, and that's why we trust them, because they serve the throne. They've learned better. They've learned from the Blood Eagle situation, and now they are that. However, opinion polls vary on whether they're actually as tough and cool as they used to be. We're starting to think maybe they're not as good as they once were because so many of them were synths. There are these mercenaries out there. They're pretty cool. We like them. They're badasses. They have TV shows about them. I think the thing is that House Aquila are like knights. We tell stories about them. Like King Arthur was an Aquilan, right? Like they are beloved. They are ancient. They have fallen on hard times, and the Deathless are untrustworthy, scary, cool badasses who smoke cigarettes and ride motorcycles. So like, you know, it's an opinion thing. But yeah, House Aquila has spaceships. Legions are not just infantry. They got all kinds of army shit. Yeah. Cool. Trusted and beloved. All right, let's answer one more question for this session because I got to go. I got to go get ready for D&D. Brat Inc., project lead from the Trilliant Ring, asks, are clones considered the same as synths? If yes, does a cloned organ transplant make you a synth? Whole body human replacement, like cloning, super illegal because it's so much like synthetics. I don't think we ever cloned ourselves because nobles are too arrogant. There's no brain transfer. So a clone is like a kid. So why not just have a kid? And children are more important than clones because you want to bloodlines matter, right? I don't think cloning was ever a priority. I don't think cloning really like happens in this sector. Not in mainstream society, right? Non-imperial like you can't, a clone isn't a noble really, because it's literally you're cloning your blood, but blood is about breeding, right? Blood, not literally, but blood in terms of like, I am a well-bred serpens and you are a well-bred reticulum. Let's have a baby, and that baby's going to be awesome, and it will serve one of our houses well as our scion, right? Marriage is more important, but genetic modification is a thing. Cloned organs are totally a thing. All that's okay, but legit cloning, like multi-copy, like stuff, it's not, we don't do that. It's not a thing. Cool. All right. So this concludes the timeline and the first Q&A for today's sector building.